Hello, everybody. Today I have a special guest, Blake, and he's another brave soul willing to ask his communication questions and learn so that all of you can learn. So welcome, Blake.
Thank you so much. I'm super excited about this digital hangout right now.
Well, I am super excited too. I have to say, Blake, the work that you're doing with teens and how you're helping them navigate social media, or really tweens, helping them navigate social media, and really adults too, because it's such a new medium. Really, I feel like we're doing a lot of similar work. I'm talking about communication. You're, helping people communicate and communicate effectively and authentically using technology.
Yeah.
And so it's the pleasure is mine. So glad to have you. So what are you thinking about? What communication question did you come up with, or what have you been pondering?
Well, I was talking to some friends the other day about how my big commitment to this year, it's New Year's recently, everyone's sort of in that headspace in some way, shape, or form. And for me, my big drive theme of the year is boundaries. And I don't think I learned the word boundaries until 8 months ago. And I think it's because I've grown up in I've had a good family life, great friendships. I've never really been in a situation where things got so bad that it was time to put up some boundaries. But what is making the topic of boundaries become really prominent in my mind is it's more that I see it as a pathway to better focus and heightened commitment. So better focus and commitment on my business, with my relationships, and even just health. So getting better at saying no to things and honoring a boundary, and not getting caught up in my head about, I'm about to say no to meeting up with an old friend, or I'm about to say no to having a meeting with someone about a project that I could do but don't really want to allocate time towards. So I think a question is, for someone who's embarking on the boundaries pursuit and putting some in place, I think getting good at saying no is probably a muscle worth flexing to make that possible. And so what do you see as some best practices for people who are going to begin saying no to some things, not because they're awful, but because they're not ideal, and how to do that without coming across as a jerk?
Yeah. First of all, great topic. I think it's pretty relevant to many, many people. And I think the first thing is, if you don't know how to say no, your yes means nothing.
That was good.
So really what you're talking about is moving into integrity with yourself and others, and doing so. Now, how you do it matters. How you draw the boundaries and how you make those choices is really important. So, for example, the good news is you are moving into not just how do I have my life and be mediocre about my life, but how do I create an ideal and amazing and an exciting life for myself. That's what boundaries are for you, right? It's you up-leveling it to the next level. And so give me an example of, how you knew you needed to start drawing boundaries, having boundaries. What happened?
Two things. In business, I noticed that I get really excited to meet new people. And so if I go to a conference or something, like, just to be specific, last January, I went to a conference in the city, met about 30 new people, probably had 2 coffees with each of them over the next 2 months. So it's fun, it's enjoyable, though I wasn't really moving the key projects or actions forward in business.
Yeah.
So that's where I noticed it on the business front, is I need to get this energy and this spirit in some ways, but I need to not do it at the expense of the key goals and projects that I want to be working on in business. And then personally, I got engaged last May. And
congratulations.
so, thank you. And just noticing the dynamics associated going from son to husband. So just literally moving the planets. So the center of the universe isn't just what it's been since I was a kid. My family, they come first. Rather, it's forming this family together with my soon-to-be wife and having conversations to honor that and to put some expectations in place, but also not just completely blindside family members or offend key relationships. So I feel like those are two large nuggets, both on the business side and the personal side, that just called for some boundaries to positively be put in place.
Yeah, so that's a really important topic, because you know what I'm realizing is that there is a sense here of not just boundaries, but how to make decisions.
Yeah.
So it's even bigger than boundaries. Boundaries is what do you say yes to? What do you say no to? And really what you're talking about is something, let's go through something called the two-step decision-making tool. Will that work?
Yes.
So basically, whenever I'm brought to a space where, it's time to make a decision, I think to myself, okay, do I know what my highest values are, right? So if you could just give me some of the things that you value most. What are they?
Family just skyrockets to the top.
Okay, so family.
And flexibility is way up there. I like doing my own things.
So you're an entrepreneur, right?
Yeah.
You're an entrepreneur. You like it being having power over your own schedule, the flexibility to create.
Yeah. And I mean, my fiance, she's been I don't know if muse is the right term, but I feel like she just is an inspiration source for me in all things. So a major value is just how I can get time with her and experiences with her, because from that, so many good things just ripple out into other directions.
And what do you value most about her?
I think that I'm always elevated when I'm around her. Like, I can't really get worse at anything in my life. I want to keep our relationship strong and positive and growing. So I feel like there's some relationships where I can kind of coast, and the relationship is intact. If I coast with her, I mean, I'm gonna be coasting solo. So yeah.
Okay, so I would say you value family, you value love, you value self-awareness and growth, you value flexibility, you value creativity. Does that sound like some good starting points? Okay.
Yeah, big time.
So when you come to a decision and it's time to make a decision, whether you say yes or you say no to something, what I do is a two-step process. The first step is I kind of look through like as if this is a values filter, okay? Yeah. And I ask myself, does this request coming from inside me or outside of me, does it pass the values filter test? Meaning, are all of my highest values in alignment here? Because if they're not, the answer is no right away.
Yeah.
Right? Now, the second question that you want to ask yourself is, does this give me energy or does this drain me of energy? Because a lot of people live their life through obligation.
Right.
And what this does is it helps you shift to inspiration. So it goes like this. Oh, so, hey, Neha, would you like to go have coffee? And maybe I'm one of those 30 people that you are thinking about. If you're worried about being a nice guy, if you're worried about I don't want to say no to her, I want her to like me, I hope she doesn't tell anyone else something negative about me if I say no, you might say yes to me. Now, having coffee with me might be in full alignment with your business and personal values. So it might have passed the values filter test.
Yep.
But the second piece of it is like, oh, then I'm not going to get to spend time with my fiance, and then I'm going to have to cut my run short, and then I'm going to have to, and you're going, and it kind of drains you of energy.
Right.
So when you have something that passes the values filter test and passes the boosting you in energy test, now you're on your way to saying yes to something. If something passes your values filter test, so if it doesn't pass your values filter test, you know you're not going to do it. Yep. If it does pass and it gives you energy, you're most likely going to put it in the yes category, because not only is it focusing you in the direction you want to go, it's inspiring you. And then if it passes your values filter test and it drains you a little bit of energy, what you want to ask yourself is, like, pay attention to how many items you're putting in that category. Because it's true for all of us that sometimes we have to do things that are obligations. Like, I run a business myself, and there's some things I got to do just because I got to do it to run a business.
Yep.
So I'll put it in that category. But when things start piling up too much in that category, that's when you need to draw those boundaries that you were talking about, right? So I just backed up a little bit and did decision-making, right? A decision-making tool. Then we can move into boundaries. So I told you your yes means nothing if you can't say no, right? Mm-hmm. You then asked, like, how do I say no to somebody without, like, offending them? Right? Well, that's a bigger question, because there's good news and there's bad news here. The bad news is you can't actually determine how that is received on the other end. No matter how nice and kind you are, no matter how thoughtful you are on the words you choose, the other person still might take it personally and still might not like you, still might say negative things about you. The good news is, when you learn to draw boundaries, you can develop the next level of integrity in your relationships. Like you just spoke about up-leveling, with being with your fiance. Well, you want your yes to mean something. And so all right, so let's say you and I are talking about that coffee experience. Like, hey, do you want to go grab coffee or whatever?
Yeah.
It becomes really hard for me if you're going to be a yes man right now, okay? Like, hey, do you want to go grab coffee? I'd really love to hang out after the course. What would you say?
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
Okay, now, if this is where it gets messy. Are you sure? I mean, do you really want to do it? Because I don't know. And then I start trying to manage you, right? And this whole thing gets messy. Now, if I know that you're a guy who will say no to me when it's no, your yes means something, and I'm not concerned. Because if you're saying yes, I know you mean it. Right. So if it up-levels our relationship, not having to get messy, not having to get me worried about you, everything bleeding in the middle. Are you okay? No. What if we both took care of ourselves? And what if we both let each other know when we could or couldn't do something? And what if we both trusted that each other had our own and each other's best interest at heart?
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden it becomes simple.
Yeah.
Yeah? And then the compassion piece is usually tone.
Okay.
It's usually how you say it, and it's usually that you say it with honesty and compassion. So it's like this. So you can ask me to go to coffee.
Neha, after the conference, I think it'd be awesome to keep the conversation going. Want to have coffee?
You know what, Blake? So I had such a blast with you at this conference. I had so much fun. And I want to say thank you for asking me to go and have coffee. What I'm feeling torn about, because I'd love to spend more time with you, is that I've been away from my kids for 3 days now at the conference. And so there's a part of me tugging at me saying, it's time. Like, it's time for you to go back, and they have sacrificed you enough. It's time for you to go be with them. And there's a part of my heart that really wants to do that. So maybe another time we could do it. Right now isn't the best time for me. And thank you for asking. Yeah?
Yeah, I see what's going on here.
It's always honesty, but it's like you go back to your values. You go back to those same values. And if you know what they are, so for you it might be like, hey, I could come out and have dinner with you guys or coffee with you guys. And what I know is I haven't gotten time to spend with my fiance, and tonight's her night off. So I'm going to do that and just know I'm going to miss you.
Yeah.
It's like, but it has to be the truth. Like, don't ask someone to later on let you know if things change, or I want to see you maybe next time if you don't mean it. Don't throw something like that in if it isn't true.
Right.
Yeah? So how was this for you? What were your takeaways?
My takeaways was that first statement out of your mouth. That was lightning right there. It was your yes means nothing if you can't say no. So I've never heard that before, and that was big. So I'll be writing that down and sticking it on a bathroom mirror. And also, I loved the obligation versus inspiration. I think it's just a neat measurement tool, and one that excites me. And then lastly, what I took away from the conversation was something that I noticed I did probably 2-3 months ago, which I think aligns with this, which is I'm starting to say no to certain presentations, because that's been my main business for years. Is I go out on the road and I give speeches, and it's difficult sometimes to say no when they're really cool opportunities. So I said to my booking agent in an email one time when I said no thank you, and I didn't feel great about it, I ended the email with, "I'm not trying to be a diva, I'm trying to be a husband. Sincerely, Blake." And he responded and he said, "That was awesome. I totally get that, and respect to you for that." And now that's all I need to say to the team is it's a husband decision, because they know that is a priority for me and it's a new thing in my life. So this all links back to what you're sharing about speaking with the values in mind and honestly articulating that.
Yeah. Well, I think the woman that you have found, I have not met her yet, but I am incredibly excited for you, because the level of knowing that you are a better human in the presence of another, and that she inspires you to be that person, that's a wish I would have for everyone to be able to say. So thank you for joining us, Blake. Thanks for your honesty and asking your questions so other people could learn. So great to see you.
You too. See you later.